much, and thank you for inviting me. I think I want to begin with a fun poem to read. It's a poem about my mother, and I'm Catholic, so we believe in purgatory. Even the priest thinks he's going to go to purgatory, which is it's like the waiting room, and you do things so that you can go to heaven. Even the priest, even the Monsignor thinks he's going to go to purgatory. Well, this is about if my mother is in purgatory. She is a stewardess flying through turbulence, never crashing, never landing. Her skirt is too short, showing each half pound creeping onto her small frame. She cannot stop to pull down her skirt or reapply her makeup or fix her hair or even drink coffee. The passengers plead for more drinks, for more pillows, more peanuts, more sick bags. Customers call for more quiet. As babies and grown men howl, as fat women pray to Jesus without a rosary. She rolls her eyes, correcting everyone's grammar in her mind. Her coworkers are friends. They roll their eyes as voices lowered, they discuss the passengers. While they stock the cart, they give everyone nicknames. They have nicknames for coworkers too. They can't find pillows. They fill the cart with blankets or raincoats or sticky uniforms. They can't find Dramamine. They raid their purses for M&Ms, breath mints, or hard candy. Someday this plane will land. My mother swears that she will go back to Maine and never leave. Her friends and family will all have to find her there. Okay, Pedro mentioned the fishing poem, and this is a poem about my mother's father, whom I never met. And he liked to go fishing, and my mother was, as she said, his only son. She was an only child. Fishing poem. The grandfather I never knew fished for hornpout in a pond I heard about but never saw. There my mother's family spent summers, less than a half-hour's drive from the city. Unless they fished in clear water, hornpout tastes like mud, which not even Graham's hand-cranked peach ice cream or Grandpa's Lucky Strike greens could disguise. I Google Ashburnham to see the pond not quite sparkle under a brilliant sky. The surface hides mud, weeds, a murder victim. No one fishes now, and the houses for sale are far grander than that summertime shack, without electricity, without running water. The trees are smaller than they would have been before the hurricane, the year my mother turned 12, the year she stopped fishing. Okay. I think this is a good time maybe to read about my father's side of the family. I don't have so many poems about my father, in part because he's living, and I guess, respect the living. But this is about my grandfather. Well, not exactly, but it's about going where I thought he lived up until recently. Flying into Warsaw in another life. In this life, the eastbound airplane simply hangs above the toy landscape. Cotton ball clouds, tiny nameless trees, the ocean, a smooth, dark sheet without trash or fish or shipwrecks. Tomorrow morning, I land in Poland, my grandfather's country of trees with yellowed leaves and peeling bark, of cobblestones coated with cigarette smoke, of lumbering oxen and steam trains, of people who look like me, but swish and swallow vinegary consonants that burn going down an American's throat. In this life, I don't know that Grampy never lived in Poland. In his own village near Vilnius, his words, a foreign language, swirled like wood smoke in morning air. And some people I know, I see my cousin Wandy, and I see my friend Susan, as well as Fran, and I think, and yeah, I want to read a poem that it wasn't written while I was in Eugene. It's very much about my Eugene experience. When I was there, the radio station I listened to was this radio station in Corvallis, which, you know, was not Eugene. And it was all the oldies, you know, it was grand. But here it is, Radio Corvallis. Radio Corvallis is down for the night. Once the sun rises, the tornado's Telstar will rise too. It will hover above the AM, FM, shortwave radio on the table, the spatter in the frying pan, the smell of gingery curry, of onions and butter. As the sun climbs further, the radio will reveal saxophones and piano above the guitars and drums, the basses and baritones beneath the tenor and falsetto, and the coasters themselves will strut through this college issue apartment. But for only a few hours more, the refrigerator and lights hum out of tune electronica for an audience of one. I keep typing, I keep the beat. A Eugene experience, but I have other poems set there that, you know, if I have time, I will read. I want to read some poems from my new book. This is Poetry en plein air from Pony One Dog. And I'm going to put, towards the end, I'm going to put, because I'm not a good typist, I'm going to put my email in the chat. And if people are interested, I can sell at a discount rate this book for $12 plus you know, one of my other books. Okay, so what would I like to, oh, here's another Eugene poem. It's actually about leaving Eugene, Travels with the White Ghost. And you know, leaving Eugene, it was an interesting experience because you know, we finally had a car. We killed the car. We didn't even make it to San Francisco. We were going to go drive, boom, 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 you know, down and across, you know, the long way. And the last day we were in Eugene, it snowed. But this is the poem, Travels with the White Ghost. As the two of them left the city, flurries drifted onto the white car, like the ashes of a dozen term papers, 100 used books, and 1,000 letters from friends burnt in a bonfire. From the passenger seat, she looked back. He grinned and kept going. This was another goodbye, another sack or two of mail returned to sender, another adventure and a half lifetime of them. Only this time he was in the driver's seat. Together, the two of them inched down the road down the coast on back roads, on dirt roads, through places where one could die. They were escaping from a fire, down knotted sheets, each one shorter than the last. North of San Francisco, they finally fell short, landing hard in a small town. Without him, a little pregnant, but not for long, she then rode the bus east. leaving the white ghosts behind. Okay. I want to read another poem about my mother. My mother told stories. This is a poem I really like reading. My mother told stories. It's a nice counter to the image of her as a stewardess, which she would have hated. My mother told stories. Mother remembered cars with no radios, so she told stories. We munched on her favorite candy, Necco wafers, the color and flavor of spring coat buttons, muted pastels, pink, gray, white, green. She told stories all the way past the road to Whalen Park. Its wooden roller coaster, she said, had killed a soldier just home from the war. She told stories as we crossed over the Nashua River that ran red or blue or green, depending on the paper Wallace's mill was making. As a girl in a pinafore, my grandmother had waded in that water. Mother told stories as she drove past the site of Mal's Goody Goody, where she used to play under the tables while the adults played bridge, and slipped the children pennies and Necco wafers to match their Sunday best, muted pastels, plaids, and checks. Our mother told stories all the way to grandmother's house. We sat in the front seat, crunching the last of the wafers, discs less sweet than our breakfast cereal. We hoped for more, but sometimes tasted the pale licorice, pale lavender that mother recalled. Okay. This another poem I want to read. It's a Boston poem. Because actually, I guess if anything, I would say that even though I've been in the Washington D.C. area almost 20 years, I would say, well, I live here, but I'm from Boston, and would be a good one to read. I think maybe, yeah, riding into Charles Street Station. And that has a special significance because it's in response to Joan's poem, A City Wears Its River Like a Necklace. Okay. The river wasn't yet someone else's necklace. I glimpsed it on my way to work, looking up from a book my boss had given me about someone else's city. Crew teams were scuttling home down the Silver River to breakfast and their first class, the mathematics that would have freed me from electric typewriter and telephone, from this 2-hour commute that ended at the ocean, the calculus that would have kept me from my residents and coworkers at Long Island Hospital. I imagined walking alongside the river, even just crossing it on foot, in sunlight that glittered on the water, like glass, like borrowed costume jewelry, and in the sunset that would stain it orange. I imagined living near the river, perhaps in the building I saw, right before entering the tunnel. I would grow used to the sight of trains before midnight and the black waters after. The river would stay in my mind the way my aunt's gift of pearls did, kept for special occasions, therefore never worn. But the river was always someone else's necklace. I was passing through on a subway car that was often filled with other riders, blocking my view of the river. Most of them had a better right to this necklace than I did. I think I have time for a couple more short poems. I think maybe I'll do some of the new poems. Or actually, I want to read an old poem that I also do a lot of environmental poems, science fiction poems, and this is a good one to read. This is from On the Other Side of the Window, and this is Easter 2116. The next time that Easter will be in late-ish March, but not too late. Easter 2116. Among the late afternoon walkers in the square, I tighten the hood around my pale face and squint through goggles for any scrap of sun that squeezes through. I could be on Bradbury's Venus on the sweltering day when the sizzling rain pauses, but I am on Earth. In the absence of wind, showers, and past birdsong, I hear my robe swishing. I will myself not to think about music, my own earworms, or suggestions sent to me like headaches. I hear only the buzz of mosquitoes, balked by the heavy cloth. Shuffling way down, I watch holograms hover over the stones of the square that resist ceaseless rain and wind. The holograms show skin, unlike the living. Mosquitoes will not bite them. They have no blood to poison. Holograms do not talk to me. I am too poor and homely. They are as silent as the electric cars and aircraft that swarm the city and beyond. I walk to the shore of the acid ocean, the beach lacquered with toxic jellyfish and seaweed. I smell nothing. I have been walking here forever in search of something. A hologram in cargo shorts floats above like a new age Jesus going out to Peter's boat. I look out to the horizon. The waters cover the cities where, as children, the holograms wore Easter outfits, and couples sauntered out into the sweetly scented sun so many years ago as music played from transistor radios. The rain will resume. The music will as well. For now, I enjoy their absence. And I think the last poem I want to read is, this is a poem from when I was in Indiana. It's September 11th, when my husband and I were newlyweds. Okay. Later that morning, after classes were canceled, I crossed the river beneath a perfect sky going home to you. We didn't think that Al-Qaeda would reach us in this college town, this pin that the angels danced on. We listened to the radio. We thought about stopping by your parents. There, your mother watched the news all day as if it were the rain that would not fall. Instead, I watched the trucks trailing American flags rush up and down Ferry Street, making it a river we could not cross. I wish it had rained that morning while the passengers were lining up at Logan and the workers were streaming from the subway. Standing at the window, looking at the sky, fierce, even in Lafayette, city of wedding cake houses and candy stores, I prayed for rain. Thank you. And this is actually another Eugene poem. I'll read another poem that's not a Eugene poem, but this is a Eugene poem. I don't know how many of you remember Phil Turchin, who used to run Poets Anonymous. My then husband and I used to go to his event, and well, when Phil died, we had part of his ashes, and this poem is is kind of inspired by that experience. And it's also, it was inspired by a friend's poem also about ashes. We can never live where we want. A friend's ashes clump by a red bush. His quizzical bearded ghost peers in at intern's opening mail. He had been happy once as he wandered by the river, drinking bad coffee. But I feared being caught, scattering his ashes into slow, black water. I feared clambering over rusted shopping carts while police watched above. Now my ghost can't even leave town, our ashes mingling with the cats. Our urn is the pin upon which I, no angel, dance. Okay. Let's go away for a while. Thelma and her husband sing along to Pet Sounds when driving to the Cape. Jerry Cole's guitar begins, "Wouldn't it be nice?" And they launch into song, his voice too wild, hers with the Texas accent she can never lose. They plunge in, splashing past strip malls and swamp. But this instrumental is the song she loves best. The vibraphone like sunshine against drums like surf. The horns like the wave that crashes furthest onto the rocks, not quite the highway. The strings are clouds, meringue she has whipped up in a stainless steel bowl at home. She almost forgets that the East Coast has weak surf and slimy seaweed clings to waders' calves in warm knee-high water. As she and her husband waddle in among the thin girls from Boston. She then remembers cold, cloudy Mondays when the two of them drive back home, listening to their inland music, Chicago blues, Texas swing, Hank Williams honky-tonkin', the old songs that better suit their voices. Maybe she likes that this instrumental comes before anyone can see the bridge or the traffic. Or she likes to catch her breath before Sloop John B.'s lyrics grind her down like the refrain of a whiny child. She catches her breath. Okay, thank you.